It's November 17th. Today's November 19th. Yeah, today's November 19th, 2022. And it's our anniversary.
Yeah.
We're smoking weed at the cemetery. We've been together 1 year today, officially.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss me. Love you, dude.
I love you too.
The gay scarf. You can just go.
All right. Yeah. So this is also when I was becoming interested in politics as they actually were. Not as, like I knew who John McCain was in 2008, but I was also 8 years old. So, limited understanding of, who John McCain was and what that meant if he, got elected and what it meant as him running as a Republican and such. But when I read stuff about him, it puts things in context that I had been observing, because that's also when I was, listening to NPR and actually parsing what they were saying on the radio. Yeah.
I still can't parse CNN, but NPR has always been at least coherent.
Yes. And that's why I was, very glad that my parents were NPR people growing up, because I listened to NPR, every morning.
It's the same exact apparatus, as far as I can tell. It is the same as CNN. It's just a different type of programming.
Center-left, mostly center. Sometimes they'll host people they probably shouldn't host on the show.
They wouldn't be able to get away with calling themselves the views do not necessarily respectably whatever of the blah-blah-blah if they didn't.
Yeah, they are not necessarily representative of the station. Enjoy the show.
I should add that to my disclaimer.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I do my disclaimer?
Okay, go ahead.
Warning. The following program is recorded live and is not intended for children. This program may at any time contain graphic or disturbing content, harsh or abusive language, violence, nudity, hate speech, and other triggering subjects that may be disturbing for some viewers and against the terms of service for most mainstream platforms. The themes and opinions expressed in this program should be considered psychotic and a disinformation campaign, and should not be used for political or academic purposes. Facts are not checked, and no sources or citations will be provided. Should you choose to redistribute, please do so only in good faith. Thank you again for joining us. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Welcome back to Rainbows and Razor Blades, a show from the cemetery today. By the Gregorian calendar, it is currently the 19th day of the 11th month, the month of November, in the year of the Lord, 2022. We come live today with the little Shinigami.
Mm-hmm.
It's our anniversary, and the little Shinigami is talking about, that clip is much better than the first time I said it. It's the third time I said it today. The little Shinigami was talking about kind of why they wear this scarf in a way.
Yeah.
And what that meant for them while they were actually aging through that discovery process, and what the culture surrounding that discovery process looked like. And we were just discussing how Tumblr, basically, when it was peak, they were peak Tumblr generation in a way that I was peak 4chan. And I'm about 10 years older-ish by the internet standard. And so we were talking about why it came to fruition that people just started inventing new genders. And then the butthurt conservative men were getting all butthurt about that. And so that is where we left off. And thank you for joining us. Welcome back. Now we have only 2 more gigabytes? Oh, we got only 2 more gigabytes.
Okay.
But that's enough to make it to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. Okay.
It's another 8 minutes of talking.
Yeah.
21 gigabytes to get this thought right. That's not a lot of gigabytes, but it's enough gigabytes. So I was talking to my partner, it's our anniversary. So.
Yeah.
Again, I'll say it. So I was talking about how when I first started being trans, it was 2016, and where the front lines of the ideological trench war was taking place was still on, are we schizophrenics? And this was that, and what that means by the front line is that even the most progressive arguments that people are making, at that time it wasn't, should children under the age of 18 be given access to hormones and or maybe perhaps some forms of body alteration surgically, right? That's not what the front lines were. Instead it was, are we literally schizophrenic? And so the best arguments that those people on our side could make without meeting resistance was schizophrenia. Now the trench lines have moved, right? We've advanced our lines ideologically, and now the position is such that we don't actually have to debate whether we're schizophrenic or not. Everyone accepts that we're not. Even, funny enough, the right wing, they have fallen back further. They don't even argue with us about it anymore, because they know that if they try to make those arguments, which they were making in bad faith to begin with, their front line is made in bad faith. Our front line is made to their perception in bad faith, because they're like, you're trying to mutilate children. But to us, it's progress. It's like, it is still recording. It's like, it just seems self-evident that it should be allowed. But here's what I was talking about. So there was a lot of different people when I first started my transition that would tell me things, or tell each other things to the effect of, this would never affect these men if they weren't indoctrinated to care. And I was always of the counter opinion, and I said, you're misunderstanding why they're radicalized. It's because they understand where you're moving, because they're being told where you're moving, and where we're moving is the children. We're going to make your fucking kids trans. And that's like, it's not a lie, we're going to do it. Now, we're not going to try to convince your kids to become trans. That isn't what it is. It's that we're going to make available the option of freedom, and we aren't going to try to resist them. And then, so the counter argument then back in the day, and this is actually 2018, it kind of like ratcheted one trench line forward, was that it was like, well, should we respect children's pronouns, or anybody's pronouns for that matter, like, and should we give, like, teachers don't need mandates. Why are we even talking about that? No one's trying to take away your freedom. And I was always of the opinion that yes we are, and we're trying to culturally usurp you. We would put you to death if we could. You'd put us to death if you could, right? That's the mindset you got to go into it with. But since no one's putting anybody to death, at least at this time, then the way that you address it is, like, are we actually going to make argument and then make policy behind that argument? I was always of the opinion that yes, we're going to make your kids trans. We're going to take your kids, we're going to remove them from your custody if necessary, and we're going to call what you were doing abuse, and you're going to do the exact same to us. And it will come down to state enforced authority. And one of the biggest questions is whether or not that the gender segregated binary of the religious theism and conservatism was going to win out over trans. We're still fighting this issue in 2022. It's just that the trench lines are very different now. But back then, people would always say, well, why does it even affect you? And I was like, that's an invalid argument, and you're actually giving them ammunition, and you're actually radicalizing these men further to fight and to dig in further to their trench lines, because what you're doing is you're basically invalidating their position. And trust me when I say that if you tell a grown fucking man that you're going to take his daughter and you're going to give his daughter testosterone, that he'll fucking kill you. And he's well within his rights to fucking want to kill you. Now, the question is whether or not that he's legally within his authority to actually physically use violence if he chooses to prevent A, his daughter, or B, you from being complicit in helping his daughter become... Now, and so the counter position there is obviously like, yeah, it's a transgender son. Or a transgender person, we don't have to label it son or daughter. We're past that now. That's actually where we're going to be in another 5 years. That's where the trench lines will be drawn, and people are digging those trenches now into the earth, or into the digital earth, I should say, like the digital fighting pit. And it's interesting because the main battlefield itself just got nuked. They took down Twitter. I don't know if they took down Twitter because of the trans issue. That seems too myopic, but that's my perspective on it, being trans, is that they just nuked the battlefield. So what do we do now? They're making laws that affect abortion and body autonomy. So part of that push is it acceptable to allow a boy to chop off his 14-year-old penis? Like, I don't think anyone's saying that's where we should be. I should say, I don't think anyone... Well, there are people saying it, but it isn't the ideology. That isn't really where it is. But it does beg the question of, when do you support trans children and when do you not? What is too far and what isn't? And if any of those points are valid to be engaged with, you have to, unfortunately, engage with a conservative-rooted mindset of just like, we don't need change, things are fine and they've been fine the way that they are, which is not the truth. Thanks for letting me babble with my camera. This is kind of what I do.
Yeah.
Any thoughts to add?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that time in my life, of what was happening concurrently for me, because at the time I was in high school and I had just come to realize that I was non-binary. And it was because there was another non-binary person at school that talked about like how they were non-binary, and like honestly, they were a cunt. They were like, they bullied me.
No names on the vlog, but like, I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, no, they legitimately bullied me, and they made me feel bad about myself, and it made me feel really stupid and small. Yeah, I just ended up hating them because I was in love with them at first. So they also just had a degree of disgust for me because they knew I liked them, but they did not think that I was, I don't know, they thought I was like scum. So, yeah, that sucked for me. And they were like this pretentious hipster bitch as well. So, makes sense.
Yeah, you don't seem like the type that a hipster would go for.
No. And they were like, well, they weren't exactly hipster either. They were like a punk. Like
A hipster.
Yes, a Sum 41, like Green Day wearing person.
Both the punks and the hipsters are gonna hate me for amalgamating them.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I was in love with them, and kind of like, because of that, I got like even more into Tumblr because they were also big on Tumblr. So I did the unhealthy teenage thing and like got really into a thing because a person I had a crush on was into that thing.
Yeah.
Just absorbing other people's interests. And to be liked. Absorbing other people's interests to be liked. So, but then I
Oh, I'm hearing your echo.
yeah.
I was like, what the hell?
Then I had a much more, I don't know, I got into it for myself rather than for them. And that's when I learned about like all the pride flags and all like the LGBT acronyms, because like MOGI was very popular at the time.
I don't know what that is. This stuff didn't even exist when I was in high school.
Yeah. So MOGI is like, I don't know, minority, gender and sexual attraction spectrum. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not.
Is this
doing the
like
acronym
is it a
right.
theory? Or like a hypothesis, like a theory?
It was a culture on Tumblr. That's where like
Okay.
all of the pride flags came from. Like not all of them.
It definitely
but,
was a
like,
new thing.
Past the bisexual pride flag, that's where people were like coming up with the pansexual
yeah, they were
flag.
they were
And,
building language for what people were.
Yes,
could
yes,
be.
they were building. Yes, that's exactly what it was, and that's where you got things like star gender or like.
Yes.
And it was just we were trying to build language
I would have
for
been
what
one
did
of
not
those.
exist. And that's what it was. And then that's why the right wing came at us and they were like, they're just fucking making up genders now.
And you
I
were.
identify as a attack helicopter. Ugh. Like, okay.
The one joke.
Yeah, you have one line.
All right,
You
hold
cannot
on.
meme.
I have to pause you because we're out of time.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be right back after this. Thanks for.
So we were coming up with vocabulary that did not exist because there's a marked depth in English to explore and explain discussions of human sexuality and human gender identity. And we just didn't have words for that, so we were coming up with it on Tumblr.
An epistemological black hole.
Yes, and there were a few redundancies because we were literal children coming up with this. So like you had attractions like trixic and toric, which basically meant like attracted to women and femme types, and attracted to men and masculine types.
Oh, say them again.
Trixic and toric.
I've heard of andro and gyno, but I think that denotes body type.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Denotes body type. Yes. So we were coming up with shit like that, and the right wing did not like that. I didn't understand like how insidious it was. Oh, there's a pocket.
Where are you looking? Oh wow!
Oh wow.
Wow, that's a mighty hawk too. Good
Yes,
spot.
It is. Wow. Whoa.
Whoa.
He's having a great day.
I like that we have the same instinct that like the hawk is the most important thing to see. It's like you have to like worship that power, you know?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, he is cruising. Wish I was a hawk.
That'd be cute if I was an owl and you were a hawk.
Yeah.
I'd be like, go away, it's nighttime.
I'd
too
be
bright.
like, fun fact, the Red Hawk is the voice actor for the Bald Eagles. They don't,
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do an actual Bald Eagles call because they sound like seagulls. And we can't have the mighty bird of our nation sound like a seagull.
That's actually so hilarious.
It's really funny.
Here's some yarrow for you.
Thank you.
Oh, I gave you the bad one, sorry.
No, I like this.
Yeah?
It's nice. It's
You must have got a good one, because I got one that was like soapy.
Yeah. But yeah. So,
You want to hold this while I go pee?
Okay. Okay. I will keep talking.
Make sure it's recording if you're talking.
Yeah, it's recording. All right.
I'll catch up with you over here if you want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when I by the time I was a legal adult, I understood like all of the left wing's lexicon and imagery and all of that, specifically in regards to pride flags and just the language that we use with each other. But I also understood the right wing's terms that they were throwing at us in some of their imagery. And it was interesting because it evolved. Back in 2015, the Pepe was still not explicitly like just a right-wing thing. Like that was just past when that meme was blowing up just as like a meme, just as like a sad frog meme. It was not like explicitly a right-wing thing. I don't know if it originated on 4chan by the art style. It seems like it must have, but like it wasn't explicitly a dog whistle to the right wing. But by 2018 it absolutely was, for sure. And I knew that, and I began learning about just signaling and propaganda like that because I was taking this class called Nazis and the Holocaust, and then immediately after that I took another class called Modern Middle East, and it talked a lot about the bureaucracy of the Nazis, but also their propaganda apparatus and how they were able to brainwash their own population into developing the same hateful rhetoric. And it was frightening because that was happening at the same time in the US with Charlottesville and it was also after Trump got elected. That was like, I remember that day very clearly at my high school because we were all just devastated. You know, it was a single-sex school, so, you know, we were all like either girls or soon to not be. But, you know, we had all been like subject to the same socialization in regards to gender.
I'm gonna hit the pause real quick. Just it goes out of sync after 5 minutes.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
The audio editing is impossible.
Okay. So we all had the same socialization in regards to gender, and that's so like we all, I think like most of my school wanted Hillary to win, and like a few were able to vote, like a few seniors and some of the juniors.
Massachusetts.
Yeah. So like, and we just had like this big election party, and you know, we saw the election get stolen like right before our eyes. We saw the Electoral College just do what the Electoral College is famous for doing, and even though Hillary won by a popular majority, the Electoral College made it so that Trump won. And the next day we were all just completely devastated. Like a few people were just like crying in the bathroom on and off, and we were all just like dreading what the next 4 years would be because we had no idea like how bad it would get. We knew it was bad, but we didn't know how bad it would get. So that's just like, it was really like, it was interesting too because it was like almost all my school, like the international students didn't care as much because like it's not their country. But
behind you just for whatever it's worth.
I don't care.
Okay.
But like all of us domestic students, like we were all just like reeling from it, and like, that definitely wouldn't have been my experience if I had been at, like, a public school, because, like, my high school was very specifically a progressive college prep school. So, it kind of self-selected for a certain ideology, and people who didn't share that ideology kept it to themselves. So, yeah, it was... Anyways, so that's when I was, like, first starting to understand that I wasn't cis, because I had gotten the language for it on Tumblr. I'd gotten the language for, like, what not being cis meant, what that felt like, and where I matched up. And it was interesting because, like, there was, like, a whole debate within like the queer community of, like, do you need do you need dysphoria to identify as trans?
Oh, that was my perception of that was that was a right wing pretending to be the left wing debate.
Yes.
Like, the people who were introducing that type of poisonous gatekeeping mentality were not acting in good faith and weren't themselves generally trans. There was a few of them that got caught up in that supremacy doctrine, but
yes, and a lot of, like, trans medicalism, I think, also fits in with that.
that's the word.
Yeah.
I was a full trans medicalist when I first started, but
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who went through that, and because I had realized I wasn't cis, but I also wasn't, like, super dysphoric to the point where I was like, I'm definitely trans because I'm dysphoric. Like, I wasn't super open about it, about using, like, my preferred pronouns. I did not come up with a different name. I also just didn't find any names that I liked. But, because this was also in the, everyone's name is, like, Skylar, Jonah, stock 5 androgynous, like, millennial Gen Z names.
yeah. Aiden was another big
Aiden, yes. Ryan, yeah. Like a bunch of them. There's, like, it's a whole meme where it's like, let's meet Caden, Skylar, Aiden, like, yeah, the stock 5 trans mask memes. Yeah, so like, I wasn't super open about identifying as non-binary at the time because I just wasn't strong enough for my ego to take the hit of, like, well, you're not super dysphoric, so, like, you can't be trans. You're just a cis woman trying to take our, like, I don't know, mantle of transness and oppression away. You're diluting our oppression and our of like how we are.
Yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah, and it was really hard for me because I was, like, 17 years old.
Yeah.
So I was just, you know, struggling with the things that you normally struggle with as a teenager, but also, like, I'm pretty sure I'm not cis, but I also feel like a fucking poser because I'm not, like, so dysphoric I want to hang myself, you know?
I don't think of you as a poser.
Yeah.
I think of you as someone who got the wrong body, but it isn't necessarily dysphoric about the one that you didn't have. Because
Yeah.
if you had a different body, regardless of whether or not that you are happier with that one than you are with the one that you're in, you would have been treated very different and perceived very differently.
Yes.
And people have been like, fuck you, faggot, I'll fight your mouth. When in my generation, but in your generation, they probably would have been like, bro, I'm gonna go ham on you.
Yes.
Because it was past the generation where they were threatening to, like, literally rape.
Yeah.
Like, that was
There was a little bit that we were at the tail end of that when I was in middle school, because that's when I do remember that with the middle school boys where they were like, oh, fuck it.
That was so like that was my also middle school, and then also all the way through college that basically persisted. The kids who were, like, intelligent and wanted to become professionals, if they had been part of that culture at all, stopped doing it outright, and the other people at that point were just forced into their shit lives. They were shit people to begin with. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
They never had to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, your generation, I don't know how you would have been treated if you had been a boy, but watch out for the poop.
Thanks.
But if you had been a boy, or at least just not a girl, you would have been treated differently by fucking every single person in every single circumstance.
Yeah.
Maybe 90% of the time that wouldn't have mattered to you, but the 10% where that did matter, you got none of that. You got a fucking drought when you needed rain.
Yeah.
And, like, that's something that you're only now kind of coming to grips with, I think.
Yeah, and I was also just with my controlling, judgmental mother.
Jeez, man. Yeah,
And like that definitely affected me a lot, and it's a big reason why I have like problems with lack of confidence and self-esteem is because of her specifically.
for sure. She definitely breaks you down more than she builds you up. And the
Yeah.
ways that she builds you up, yeah, it's very supportive. It's how a mother should support a sibling or whatever the word is.
Child.
Child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Offspring was the word I was looking
Yes.
for.
Yes.
You know who I heard that word first from? It was just like this. It made me as angry as it makes me still. I cringed at the word. It was Asha.
I see. Yes, because it's so clinical. That's the problem.
They hit me
is
with that
like,
word, man.
a lot of gender neutral terms are also so fucking clinical.
They really are, and they're designed to be clinical because
Yes.
it's designed to like basically force you. And it makes sense like from a leftist perspective, but like it isn't socially compatible on
No.
purpose. On purpose, because it's making a different like type of argument.
Yeah, like instead of like Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's Day, it's Happy Caregivers Day. Like, I'm sorry, what?
I kind of like that though.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that it should get its own special day.
Yes.
Because then people will be like, oh, you're gonna take 2 days because you're both a father and a parent or a caregiver.
Yes, I am, motherfucker.
Like, oh, you're gonna celebrate? Oh, what do you mean you're gonna celebrate non-binary day and take off the day off work? This is why I'm
I have
inventing
to
my
deal
own.
with you fuckers.
When should non-binary day be? Because it probably already exists, National Non-Binary Day. But I'm gonna put it on my also calendar.
Let's
the
see.
new Hallows calendar.
When's a weird, wonky time of year?
Right
I
now,
think it's-
right now.
Yeah, like either like October, November, or like March, April, when like the weather can't really decide what to do. That should be when our national day is. 'Cause
People
we're
are
all
gonna
just, like,
celebrate our anniversary without knowing it.
Yes.
If they're non-binary.
Yes.
We'll be right back after this.
She's probably gonna like you.
Yeah, that's
This is the most amount of cats I've seen in a long time.
Isn't it absurd that there's 2 humans
just,
that
like,
live here and 4 cats
so
that
I
live
many
here?
love that. Okay, I
What?
probably have Binks hair on me.
Okay.
I have a cat.
I know. He's so friendly.
It is a friendly cat.
I love that your scarf and hat are the non-binary colors, by the way. I
Yes.
saw that when
Yes.
you walked up.
Brent gave them
Question
matches.
D very much because it's like D or Deanna. I really like the D. D is just, it's
These
shorter.
nuts.
D's nuts, yeah. But just D as like a short name, that's like, you know. Even if it's androgynous, you could do that if you wanted to.
Definitely.
Just D. But like,
Yeah.
no, Deanna, that's never really not suited me. But some people, like, I don't blame them for wanting to.
Yeah, my
Like a
legal
new
name
name.
does not suit me. I
No.
was like very mousy when
Yeah.
I.
That's
like,
why I talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I looked like your character.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me show you how I looked when I was like 13 so you can see what I mean.
Yeah.
I still have like the pictures archived on my
Yeah.
Instagram. I was very messy because I was very afraid of the world and other people specifically because that's what
Yeah.
happens. All those thirsty college kids, I'm too hot.
When the fuck did it turn into this? Like, it was not. It was, yeah, like it was not like this last. Yeah, the last time I was here, there was not even us.
No, there wasn't, I know. Should we do that bar or should we do that bar?
I'm following you.
Yeah, let's go up another. You should learn about stuff.
I want to do it so bad. I've always thought about it, but I've never done it. Yeah.
Definitely learn about it and then like try it out.
They're going to pass out on their
He's Goldar or whatever the fuck his name is in Power Rangers. Pandora. At last, I'm free after 10,000 years. This fucking thing.